Well, it's that time again. Welcome to my stream.
I'm not sure.
Oh man, Alexa, stop it. Well, tonight we're going to be talking a bit or looking at Next.js, which is kind of exciting. Also, a little bit, how should I put it? A little bit nervous for me because Next is a framework, a JavaScript framework, obviously meta framework on top of React that I've never really spent much time with. And I mean, there's reason for that. I'm gonna get into it a bit later, but it's always hard when you kind of approach something that people have been using for a very long time, and it's kind of like the industry standard, and you know so little about it, even though I probably have touched like most other frameworks around it. So yeah, I guess we'll have to see how that goes. Yeah, if you're here, come say hi in the chat. Yeah, happy Friday. I think it's actually Good Friday too. That might affect some people's schedules, but we're still here. So, pour yourself a drink. I got a ginger mojito tonight, and let's have some fun with it. But yeah, I'm gonna give people a couple more minutes to join in the chat. This week in JavaScript was a few more different things happened compared to the last couple, so I'm actually kind of excited about that portion. That might have been actually why more than anything I wanted to do the stream this week, just because there were some good conversations to be had, and different things going around that I think are important to mention. Obviously, the solid hackathon came to an end, so there's like so many submissions, more than I have time to even go over. There's like, I think there's 51, 52, 53, I don't know, somewhere around there, but I'm super stoked about that. But a lot of other stuff happened in the ecosystem this little while. So yeah, if you're here, I see StreamYard is telling me that you're here. Come say hi in the chat. All right. Give those people just a minute more. It's like seeing Ego said hi, but it's like 10 hours ago. Oh, there we go. Hi. Thanks. Good. It feels nice not to be up here alone, even though I kind of inevitably am, but thank you. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, let's get this rolling a bit. Okay. All right. So I guess without much further ado, let's get started with this week in JavaScript. I'm gonna flip over, and as I mentioned, a number of things happened this week. And for me, this week actually started with talking about web components. I mean, why web components? Well, there's been this ongoing sort of dialogue, and I saw this tweet. Like everyone has triggers on social media, I think, and like some people, when they see a React framework, claim that they have partial hydration or something that kind of drives some people nuts. For me, I was just like, man, Alex, what are you talking about? Like, why? It's pretty wild how many framework authors out there are basically admitting that they don't grok how HTML and the DOM work. I mean, obviously this is probably meant to be sensational or something, but it's like, of course they know how HTML and the DOM work. Otherwise, they couldn't have written the framework. And what the kind of subtone might be is they're not using HTML and the DOM perhaps the way you would like. And I just like framework authors is being used here almost like a dirty word. And I was like, what? Like, is this a revamp of like everything should be vanilla JS? And it isn't. I mean, I looked further in the thread and I got the angle. It's all about web components again. And I don't know. I had to ask a question. I'm like, why is the comparison between like web components versus frameworks, or people use web components versus framework authors? Like, you use a framework to author a web component. Aren't they kind of ultimately the same thing? They're just libraries. Some output web components, some don't, some do both. Like, why position it that framework and framework authors are different? And I think I told you some things trigger different people. Well, another framework author I know happens to be pretty triggered by this, and he jumped right in. Our man Rich Harris here. He's like, it's they're not a different thing. It's web component centric frameworks versus non-web component centric frameworks. Eventually few people advocate writing web components without a framework, right? But it seems otherwise because web component thought leaders like to berate non-web component frameworks. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm seeing. Maybe I'm just like echo chambering here. Me and Rich's perhaps could have been private conversation is now out in the open, but why? What's the point of that separation? Why are framework authors not web component framework authors? The funniest thing about this whole conversation is Svelte, Vue, Solid, we're all pretty good at making web components. Yeah, I got some things from the chat here. Yeah. Hey, Devin. Hey, David. Yeah, I mean, is that what's going on? Rich goes on, and Rich is, this is largely one of those trigger points because framework authors have by and large rejected the web component paradigm. And we did a stream about this a few weeks ago. Even though Rich says they've rejected it, and he means from that's the way you build stuff. Svelte still outputs web components, right? Like, it's not like you can't author them. It's just like we decided at some point that our frameworks weren't going to become, like, our components weren't all going to become web components. And as I said, we've talked about that in length in the past, and especially on the web component stream. But it's just this ongoing thing. And for me, this was the beginning of my week, because if you do kind of go into it, it just keeps on going. There's a lot of conversation here, about what's a library, what's a framework, and it goes pretty deep about using the platform. More controversial than anything I covered on the stream. So if this is your cup of tea, there's all different shades of where people fall on this. Hey, Theo. React is pretty much web components, but without the V3 spec. It's pretty much reusable chunks. Yeah, I mean, there is I know, because I try and interrupt with things. Web components do have this one benefit that they force the interface to be a DOM element, so everyone can interact with them. Whereas it is a bit of a pain to kind of weave React and Vue components together or whatever. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, it's not like, I can't say that they cover the same ground. My whole point is actually they don't cover the same ground. I think this discussion kind of was really good. Ken Wheeler came in and he was like, I never felt that without adjacent library support, you could actually author these anyways. And Corey LaVisca, who's a very big web component proponent, was like, yeah, different levels of things, and I think this was probably the most sound conversation. Of course, if you go the other route and follow Rich's conversation down, it starts getting pretty deep, and we get into accessibility conversations and stuff, which is actually really quite cool. We hear from people from Salesforce. This pulled in people from all over the place talking about this again. And yeah, I mean, I feel kind of like, yeah, talking about Elm, yeah, I mean, I'd have to search down the threads to see all this stuff. But essentially, this was the starting of my week. I don't know. Hopefully, the most interesting thing for me that came out of this was actually at one point in the thread, and I'll probably have to sketch way down, is somebody on the web components side was basically like, where is it? No, I went too far. Someone on the web component side was like, within the next 5 years, all frameworks will be transpiled to native web components. And Rich says, and the reason I said I'd frame this one is because I don't see any evidence for that. Personally, if anything, we'll see frameworks begin to explore the notion that components purely are an author time concept. And I mean, for me personally, anyone who knows me, this was incredibly vindicating, because that's basically the body of my work, is that components are an author time concept. Components pure overhead, that whole thing. So I was super stoked to see Rich on the same page here. And yeah, it goes a little bit. He's talking about how Quick breaks components down. Marco does the same. Yeah, okay, we're getting to compilers. Devin got in talking about area. Like, yeah, this is a wide topic. I think what is clear to me is there are a lot of ideas of how standards should go, and a lot of different perspectives in the mix here. And at some point, certain parties have decided not to be part of the process, or they're going off on their own. And there's like a real split, like, because like there isn't like cohesion, and maybe there always has been that kind of friction. But I remember when web components first came out, we kind of all believed, and I'm including people like Rich, and the framework authors, because we thought, okay, well, this will simplify our jobs in the future, and we built our APIs around it. If you've seen like slots in Svelte or Vue, web components, if there's similarity there, you better bet there is. So yeah, I think things have kind of moved on a bit, and it's interesting to kind of see, what that means. So anyways, I've dwelled on this enough. We can probably move on a bit. How's the performance of web components these days? Can you hundreds on the page? Yeah, I mean, they're okay. I've done a study. You can check out my articles on this, specifically cost of UI components revisited. And yeah, web components scale decently well, pretty much as well as any non-VDOM framework. But VDOM frameworks scale with more components better than web components. And like at a certain tipping point, like a stupid amount, you'll see that like a VDOM library like Inferno will actually be more performant at like creation or updates than web components, even like the most optimally written hand vanilla thing without a framework. And yeah, and solid as well, obviously. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing. Web components, where they don't need to be, where you don't need, like, the thing is, when we build our UIs these days, components are a convenience thing. They're like a way of breaking up our code and modularizing what makes sense for us. Web components are a mechanical DOM element. When you make them the same thing, you're just bringing overhead that doesn't need to be there. Like, web components are good as DOM elements, but if you're going to break up a bunch of stuff and introduce extra DOM elements, it's overhead. So like, it's not hard to figure out how using the underlying vanilla JS, mechanisms versus using web components. Vanilla is going to be faster than using web components because it's less than using web components. And if a framework is sufficiently efficient at doing vanilla things, it's going to be more efficient than web components at a certain scale. Like it's just math. Yeah, no, exactly. And Rich, like everybody was really, I think we've been at it long enough. Alex is probably going to keep on shoving it, but I mean, it's a tricky one. Alex is right about single page apps and the bloated JavaScript and the whole thing. It's just like, there are other solutions, and we'll probably talk a bit about them as we continue here. Yeah, there is a problem with the way we do stuff in single page apps, and like, React, especially poster child for that, but that isn't the whole story. So let's keep on going. Okay, so they're also, getting past web components. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, yeah, they're good for isolation, but I mean, there are places you want to use your same design system across different applications, and they use different frameworks. decent thing. As long as the framework that authors the web components is small enough, good job. It does good. Widgets like Zendesk. Do you ever get those little things like where they create an iframe and they kind of like do an overlay on your page? I think web components is a great interface for that from a consumer standpoint. You just like put an HTML element, import a script, put an HTML element on your page instead of doing like these jQuery style APIs. I think for those cases that I just mentioned, they're great. It's just not a replacement for like a typical modern framework kind of thing. Anyway, let's keep on going. So yeah, now that we're past web components, I want to talk about a few releases this week that were exciting for me. One of them was Quick Docs. You guys know I've been covering Quick on the stream a lot. Quick is a newer JavaScript framework that's all based off really efficient hydration. And I've been playing with it blind. It's been challenging. I've hit, I've fallen in all the little pits and stuff, but the docs are up now and that makes life a lot easier. I was actually looking over them today. I was updating my Hackernews example and stuff. So yeah, this is great. This has been a little time coming, and I think maybe, give it another week or so to settle, but it might be a good time to start looking at Quick pretty quick here. See what I did? The other one that I want to talk about is Lexical. And I've been hearing about Lexical for like a year now. For those of you who aren't aware, Dominic Ganaway, TrueADM, was the creator of Inferno. And as anyone who watches my stream knows, I'm a huge, huge fan of Inferno. Inferno was one of the big influences for Solid early on. And Dom, to my pleasure, I guess first time about a year ago, Dominic started kind of showing up in our Discord and just being like, hey, I like Solid. Why don't you take a look at this? He just kept on like sliding me little hints. He'd be like, you could optimize this. He just kind of come by and be like, have you ever thought about doing this? And I'd be like, no, I actually haven't. He's like, it might be worth looking at. And just these gentle nudges. And at a certain point, you're just like, okay, you want to get back in the framework game, right? Like, why don't you, let's build something together. And he's like, no, he's like, the performance on that side is kind of capped off. It hasn't really changed in 6 or 7 years. And some people are like, what? No, he's absolutely right. The changes since Inferno that have happened on the JS, kind of like performance benchmarking have been so small. Solid might have got like another 5 to 8% over Inferno or something, but like that was 5 years ago. I think Solid's been where it is performance-wise almost for that approach for almost 5 years. Like things haven't moved. And Dom's like, no, I'm not getting back in the framework game because I found something better. He's like, a place that really needs performance and a focus on accessibility. And he's like, text editing. So he's been telling us about this amazing text editor that he's been building inside of Facebook or Meta now, is it called, and how it was like he took all he knew about performance and built a custom reconciler that was special purposed for text and built something that was completely based on accessibility. Accessibility was like his primary concern, and that this was going to be amazing, like 2 to 3 times faster than what you've seen in a text editor before. And this week it went open source, so now other people get to try it out. I mean, I'm so stoked for him because, as I said, he's every time he comes in, he's there to kind of help on the Solid side, and everyone's just like, come on, come do some stuff, and he's like, no, this is why I'm doing it. This is the reason. So to see, what do you say, last 18 months, yeah, but a year and a half, he's been putting all his effort into, sometime after he left the React core team, to building this amazing text editor. So yeah, I have to say, like, this is not an area that I'm terribly familiar with, but I know people are excited about this, right? They released it right away. I said 26 stars, but I think they're at 5,000 stars. Like, it's been like, I don't know, when did he post this? April 13th, 2 days. They're at 5,000 stars on GitHub. So people care about that. I mean, let's see, what's the running number? Where are we at right now? 5,100. Like, see if I can actually go this way and see Lexical. because you only get the true count if you go this way. 5,077. So yeah, he posted about an hour ago they hit 5,000. So they're probably up 70 in the last hour. Yeah, I mean, this is hot stuff. And as I said, I don't know too much. All I know is they launched with React support, obviously, but guys on the Solid team got early access to it, and we have this. I think we have this second integration. So actually, I've got lexical Solid right here. It's still not complete, but like it's yeah. I mean, Dom will talk about it. He was very intentional of using DOM. Accessibility was like his whole reason of being. So yeah, I mean, I don't know a ton personally about this, as I said, because um, this is just not an area that I'm an expert in. But one thing was clear is that a lot of care and attention to approach was taken with this, and he wanted to basically, in the same way Inferno kind of completely changed how performance looked like in web frameworks, he wanted to do that for text editors. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, let's see what we got here. I mean, it's as far as I can like, okay, plain text example, and then there's an editor, and this editor looks like something we built. Code Sandbox is not finding our inputs. So plain text editor. So yeah, I mean, let's see what this code kind of looks like for a second. Just do a quick diversion here, but we got like, so the lexical exports a few things, get selection, root, editor state. And then we've got some plugins, it looks like, from Lexical Solid, like a history plugin, tree view, and then some placeholder. And then I guess it's very React-like. You're just going to go lexical composer. This is probably like our initial config. This is probably like our context provider. And then we create a container, put in a plain text plugin, put a change plugin, history plugin, and it just composes like JSX. And now when let's see if we can blow this up a little bit. When I'm typing in here, we should see the tree view. Like here is some text, new line, right? And then, oh, look, time travel. Can I see how this works? Oh yeah, okay. So I can go forward and backwards in time on the editing. I guess that's what the history plugin does. Anyways, I don't know. Probably lots of cool stuff. Actually, did I go far enough forward? Yeah. Probably a ton of cool stuff here that I'm not aware of, but I just wanted to highlight that Lexical is out now and that there's already a solid integration alongside the React one. So pretty cool stuff. All right, let's keep on going. Yeah, what did we get? Grammarly browser. Yeah, I think this. Maybe we'll leave that for another stream. I don't want to put any pressure on the solid lexical. I know there's a couple bugs still in there, so I think you have to do all the AS stuff yourself. Yeah, I think, as I said, I think there's two design decisions here, and accessibility was the biggest one, and then the second design decision that they went with was he wanted to treat it almost like with a not VDOM, but like a modern declarative kind of mentality where the DOM is a protection of state. He didn't just want to like store the state in the DOM like a content editable. He wanted it to be a projection. So basically the same kind of concepts he had with improving the VDOM is kind of what he applied here. Like it is a reconciler. But if you ever talk to Dom about VDOM and stuff, he'll blow your mind because he doesn't view a VDOM as a bunch of virtual like static nodes or whatever, like the typical thing. For him, a VDOM is the holes. It's not the static part. It's the gaps in the template, so to speak. And sorry, I'm kind of like getting ahead of ourselves here. And sorry, I'm on the wrong tab. And essentially, that is like makes a ton of sense for me coming from a reactive perspective, because in like reactivity, we hoist all the static stuff and then we just update the holes. But for him, his view of VDOM is the same. So that's why, like, when he saw Solid, he's like, it's the different approach, but like, potatoes kind of thing, which is not how most people view reactivity versus the VDOM. For him, it was kind of like, yeah, you memo here, you create a reactive computation here, same difference, right? So yeah, if you ever get a chance, I don't know if you will, if you want to really understand what it means for performance in the VDOM, he's like one of the best people to talk to. Anyway. So yeah, those are the announcements, quick docs and that. I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about last stream here too, because some people saw it and someone made an Elm version of our Hacker News demo. Look, in a nice Elm green. So now we have another framework to add to the pack, so to speak. It's got my compressing comments and everything. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I looked at the code. Elm is wild. Like I heard like you can't write an error in it. So it's like a completely different authoring experience. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. There's also a few other comments from people in response to the stream last week talking about the Hacker News comparisons with Astro. The quick guys are like, we improved our server-side rendering. Please do it again. I started working on it today. I didn't have a chance. Otherwise, I would have brought it. We might look at performance a bit at the end. The Marco guys are like, well, Ryan, we have a feature called split components. And I was like, split components? I've heard of those. And it's funny because we've been designing Marco 6, so we don't need split components anymore. But Marco actually has a way that you can even split apart the components that are hydratable, like the few little ones, and do even less work. And I actually ran it through page speed earlier, and Marco got an 86, which is pretty good for my books. I mean, it's not a 96 like we saw with Astro, but like in the Astro example, they were not doing hydration until after like the timer stopped. It like basically did everything, took the measurement, then did hydration. This is 86 with blocking hydration. So for you who saw the last stream, you'll understand that this is a very good number. The highest blocking, this is, I think using split components might be like a little bit tricksy, so to speak, but this might start giving us an indicator of what the range that Marco 6 will be even before we add stuff like lazy hydration. We might, like the blocking normal hydration might actually already be able to get maybe even up to 90 or something. So really kind of quite stoked with this. For those of you who don't know, this is the meanest demo ever. It loads 1,400 comments. We might come back to it with Next later to see how it does, but this 86 is like very impressive. I know most people are like, oh, where's the hundreds? This test, single page apps usually can't get above 50 on this test. So very stoked about that. Okay. Yeah, I'm not going to run Elm right now. We can decide if we want to run it later. This isn't about performance. I'm just really stoked to see an Elm version of the demo. Yeah, we'll save benching more till later when we're done with Next. We'll bring Elm in. We'll actually, you know what? No, let's do Elm right now. Yeah, let's do Elm right now. Why not? Just to kind of get a feel for it. I mean, what is it? It follows my pattern, and then we just need to grab our hideous 1,400 comments from Facebook example. Sometimes they throttle me and they actually don't send all 1,400 comments. Someone earlier was like, I don't see a huge difference between Remix and Marco. And I'm like, what? And I checked it and I'm like, oh, it's only sending 100 comments. So let's just run this for a moment. Yeah, I mean, right now it's just measuring the full hydration time. Yeah, here we go. 28. Okay. Yeah, I think this makes sense. Largest contentful paint. Interesting, but first contentful paint was fast. Oh, interesting. Either they're streaming or they're doing client-side rendering. So they're like running the client-side shell, because this is a fast contentful paint for this. Like if you look compared to the Marco example, pretty fast, but Marco's done at this point. But on a slow network, it's usually not. They must be doing client-side fetching. That actually explains everything because, like, let me see if I can do another one. Let's see if we do, let's do client-side rendered solid. Hacker HTTPS colon Hacker News. This one, but I want to do CSR. I bet you it'll have similar characteristics to Elm. This one's completely CSR. It's not even server rendered at all. It's like what happens if you send a blank page and then try and do this. So, um, oh, that's hilarious. Oh, that's so hilarious. You guys are gonna get a kick out of this. According to Lighthouse, my client rendered version is faster than any of the server rendered things on mobile. Probably because, yeah, that's hilarious. Like that's a way larger blocking time and all this stuff. But because that first contentful paint is so fast, it like boosts the Lighthouse score, even though everything else is slower. Right? There's no hydration here. It's like it's a client rendered app. This is just the completely pure client side. So I mean, this just goes to show, right? Don't server render. Don't use solid start, remix or svelte kit. Just client render, and you can get higher Lighthouse scores. Honestly, this is a lie, but but this is actually very relevant to our stream tonight and why I never actually looked at Next.js in the past because I was convinced that client-side solid was just so much faster than Next.js in the early days. But we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, there you go. Like client side. It's funny. So yeah, actually, I mean, Solid might be one of the fastest client-side rendering frameworks, but yeah, I mean, this is amusing, isn't it? Anyways, yeah, sorry, I'm just getting distracted by this. I just think it's actually a little bit funny, to be honest, that this score from client-side solid is higher than most of the frameworks we tested last week, with just a pure, like, send a blank page thing. So I guess here you go. Jamstack still lives. Sorry, Remix. Okay. This I'm being a little facetious, like, that's not actually the case, it's just funny. If you there is a range in which client-side rendering can be better performance. We already actually saw this actually, where solid client-side apps are generally faster than Remix SS, or not faster, generally have higher Lighthouse scores than React SSR frameworks. But this even on this stupidly expensive demo, this is the case. Kind of cracks me up a little bit. Okay, let's keep on going. All right, good times. Then I kind of wax poetic about Marco. I know no one probably cares on the stream, or you already seen the Marco stream. Every time I try and like think of the perfect solve for the perfect reactive language, I just keep on coming back and going, man, why is Marco so perfect and everyone hates it? So probably not for everyone. I actually think that the dislike of the syntax people are actually going to get over in the near future, you know, to a certain degree. But yeah, this is just me just going on and on about how beautiful Marco is. Probably not very interesting. But I've got, yeah. I mean, this is a good point, right? I think that actually makes a difference. So like when you have like kind of poorly architected backends and big data, like there you go. I mean, that's the funniest thing about benchmarks, right? Like there's always like circumstantial stuff going on, and the answer always isn't always a clear one. It's kind of funny that if your stuff is bad enough in a certain way, like client-side rendering could be better. Like there's a crossing point. Like maybe this is a bit of the philosophy. We'll talk about next a bit and see where it goes. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, it is. But the last thing I want to talk about was, um, Yeah, always, Ben. That's the whole thing. Virtualized lists. Like this is such a stupid example. The only reason I like it is because but you can still like we'd be good enough with a virtualized list. It is a tiny bit hard to virtualize a recursively nested structure. Like I played with that a lot. I used to people don't know I used to work for a private social media and we did a lot of image grids. So it's not quite the same, but we did a lot of different layouts and did like calculations and did different types of grids and different kind of layouts that were virtualized. And that was one of my favorite things to do. I'd always like come up with like different ways to do like highlight images and like do all this kind of these kind of layouts in JavaScript and have them all calculated and be smooth and be unloading and be super performant. I used to like sit there sometimes and just like, especially on the mobile apps, just like sit there and just scroll as fast as I could just to be like proud of my work. And um, yeah, I mean, to be fair, like if you have a bunch of collapsible nested recursive comments, it's a little bit harder, but like, yeah, you would never load all 1,400 comments. It's just dumb. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like the fact that it's a recursive thing, I absolutely loved Ben like taking Astro last week and doing that because it's like you can do it with vanilla JS, not too hard, but it's like with a declarative framework, it's like, do you have partial hydration? Yes, no. Like there's not much, there's not other ways to get out of that. Yeah, and this is kind of the thing and why we're going to talk about this for a second because I made this chart because I've been I've been building charts recently. I've been trying to like fix the Adi Asmani like chart and I'm having a hard time. I'll show you guys at some point, but like there's so many dimensions to this. And at a certain point I'm just like, let's just lay it out there on the partial hydration side or the progressive and just I'm going to categorize this in three ways and I'm going to give you an idea of where all the frameworks thing. And the important part is the note that I say here is actually very important. There is some nuance here, like progressive plus resumable, i.e. quick, does a pretty decent impression of partial. And partial plus resumable kind of means you don't need that much to be progressive, talking about Marco 6. And then further, and coarse grain maybe 90% of all the benefit. So I don't know, 90 times 90 is what, like, you know what I mean? Like maybe it's 80% when you put it, you know, both things being coarse grain together. But like my point is like, if this is 80% and this is missing some holes and stuff, like these are, especially if you focus on the latter three here, these are very interesting, slightly different takes. And I actually love it because what this chart shows is actually Astro's the first person, like the first framework, sorry, to put progressive and partial together. And like Quick and Marco are obviously working very optimally on resumable, and that's why they're all fine grained. But it's really interesting. Like as someone who works on Marco, I actually look a lot at Astro because then it gives me like insight. I go, oh, okay, how does that, like, how does the game change when you have both, right? So Astro is almost like the first for us to kind of see that. And I mean, if you go further back, Marco 2 was the first back in 2015. Yeah, Marco had partial hydration back in 2015, like declarative, like modern partial hydration back in 2015. We actually did a little research to do this because we looked back to Marco 1, and Marco 1 back in 2014 had out of order streaming. That's that new feature that just came out in React 18. But Marco 2, and I think it was widgets version 4, introduced declarative partial hydration APIs. And yeah, so almost from the beginning, Marco has had streaming and partial hydration, which is pretty crazy stuff. But I just want to kind of show that it's funny because the reason I made the split and the reason that I didn't put partial under quick is that there is a mechanical difference here. And that is that these frameworks, all of them, except Quick, actually follow a set of rules. And that rules is the top of the page is server only. And while you can put as many server components inside server components and get server components and go all the way down, once you hit something client side, that's stateful, you can't put any more server things in it unless they're passed in as children. And then the client doesn't pass any like props, like render props to it. In that case, like transclusion through children, kind of like the shadow DOM rules. Sorry, it's a little untechnical. Technically, you can have server embedded in children, which is like recursive trick that I did on last stream. But generally speaking, you have to keep the chain of command from all the server components. And this is true for Marco, React Server Components, Astro, even Marco 6, even though Marco 6 breaks things down to subcomponent level, which allows us to like mix and match stuff together in the same template. It's just because components don't exist there. Once you hit something stateful, like a branch, it has to be stateful. So just to kind of put in perspective, and because it has that knowledge, it can know exactly what data is used, which means that it doesn't need to double serialize in a lot of cases if it knows that the stuff's only used on the server. Quick has another solution for that where you can just like literally mark it as don't serialize. But to be clear, Quick doesn't know what only runs on the server and client. It's just like the perfect lazy loading system, so to speak. Like it loads just as much JavaScript as you need, but it doesn't know ahead of time, where the rest of these actually know at build time what can be on the server or client. And to be fair, this sounds like maybe something that's like less of an advantage for Quick. And in some situations it can be, but generally speaking, this is highly beneficial the more static your page is. The more dynamic your page is, you might have to pull in all that JavaScript anyways. And at that point, you do want to be able to do something progressive, because no amount, even though partial hydration is the absolute optimization, like 100% this is server, it's never coming. The rest of it, and we often call that the last 20%, on the Marco side. If that 20% suddenly gets to be, 500 kilobytes, a megabyte, then, you're going to need to progressively load it still. I haven't witnessed an app that large, even at eBay, because our stuff's mostly static. We do see the like 80-20 rule there, even with Marco 2, and Marco 6 will probably even be better. But I'm pretty sure, Quick coming from someone from Google, like he's seen those nightmare apps somewhere. They probably haunt his dreams. Michiko's probably like just pictures them and he's like, oh my God, even getting rid of 80% of the JavaScript isn't enough. These apps are like, they'd be hundreds of megabytes if they had their way. So yeah, I trust at a certain scale there is a need, but that's also why I didn't mark it as partial, for people to understand. What's going on, chat? What am I giving you for? What are we giving Theo credit for? Getting me and Fred together, probably, maybe. Waking up with the stream. I'm not falling for this, Oren. I know where you're going. React has something called selective hydration. I don't feel like arguing definitions, to be fair. Oh, getting me into charts. Yeah. No, especially this kind of chart. I've always been a fan of the two-dimensional, like the axes chart. Even from my Magic the Gathering days, I used to like think of stuff like that way and that. But yeah, tables and stuff has not been my thing. And diagrams, exactly. Yeah. Hey, Dylan. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the scenario is here. I think that the thing is, any declarative framework is going to, like, either there's kind of a tension here for this question, because any declarative framework wants to own the knowledge of the state, and they don't want to read the DOM for it. Because if you read the DOM, it's slow, right? And generally speaking, frameworks that are close to the DOM, they get rid of a VDOM, they can operate without actually messing with other DOM nodes. So like you can bring in outside stuff and have it like not mess up, because you're not trying to diff it all. But generally speaking, still, if it's within its frame of things it thinks it controls, things can go wrong. Generally, you want the framework to know. Like if you've ever implemented drag and drop in a declarative framework, you'll know this. It's really quite awkward. Like, because in the jQuery days, you just like pick up the element or whatever, and you just drop it, and then you'd be like, okay, that's the new location. I'm good. But if you've done drag and drop in a declarative framework, you actually have to take it, drop it, put it back in the place, and then tell the framework to move it, which seems kind of crazy to people. But the framework needs to know, because otherwise the framework would have to actually be reading from the DOM, and that is like a big performance no, right? Like, the secret to Solid's performance largely is that it's not even really aware that its side effects are the DOM. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, crit effect, and to this degree, I mean, React's kind of like that too. If you actually like ignore React DOM, like React doesn't even know how to handle DOM elements. If you try to like pass a DOM element into it and like, can you insert this? React's like, I have no clue what this is. Solid's a little different because at least it deals in DOM elements, but all that stuff is kind of side effects. So, excuse me, there is potential there for it to not kind of muddle with each other if you do it in a certain way. But generally speaking, reconciling against a DOM is like a really bad idea for performance. So like, yeah, I mean, I don't know many frameworks that actually support that. Yeah, I mean, that's a way of doing it. I'm just like, most people when they pick up D&D, they kind of end up being like, "Oh, can I like use like that common like library?" There's like a vanilla JS library that has like all the functionality. You're like, "Can I just wrap this?" And the answer is, I forget what it's called. The answer is like yes, but not really. It sucks. Like, all they would need to do is add one little hook to it, and every declarative framework would just have a billion easier time. But if I've looked at it, every implementation they have to do some like crazy thing to work around it. Yeah, I know. This is one of the challenges with Quick. I'm gonna try and work with it. Quick, some of the decisions Quick has made are really bad for performance. Not for hydration, but like after the, it's gonna be challenging. I think there's ways to get around it, but it's like like yeah. This is one of the things. Like, it's like, especially like having DOM on the server, for example. That's also really challenging from a performance standpoint. I'm like one of those like almost like maybe too much of a zealot on the performance side, but like this is going to be one of those challenges, because as Quick wants better performance, it's going to come kind of head to head with these kind of decisions. Anyway. All right. So, this chart makes sense to people. Hopefully, it makes sense to some people. I mean, I actually had some fun this week because there is definitely a group of frameworks coming up together, and I got a chance to kind of sit down with the makers of all of them at the same time this week for the first time, and it was like awesome to like be like, "Hey, you're working on this. I'm working on this," and you can kind of see that, and this chart kind of facilitated the conversation because I talked to everybody, and I was like, and people are like, "Oh, I don't know if it's fair you put it there." I'm like, "Okay, we'll have a discussion about this after. I just want to kind of like help people in the simplest way. This is oversimplifying it as I kind of talk on the nuance side." Right. And yeah, I think I had this, we kind of started the conversation there, and now we've all kind of gone together and we started talking stuff. And Steve from Builder was like, kind of, we've been all trying to talk about how we can deal with the hydration, because our whole idea is we want to do less of it, or even none of it in the case of Marco 6 and Quick. And this is what I'm talking about. I've been really pushing all three. It's awesome to see the guys on Quick on the same page. Like, we're talking about kind of a new breed of framework and a new breed, and it's awesome to kind of see this kind of camaraderie. I don't know if it'll last forever, let's say, but we're working on the same problems. This is a hard problem, and we're at the end of the day, the framework authors are just engineers trying to solve really hard problems over the course of years. So having connecting with these guys has been really great. And Steve put this out today, and I thought this is this is a fun one. I mean, this is actually Quick, and the React app here is actually Next.js. I honestly, this even seems extreme from my perspective because the first contentful page, but yeah, I more wanted to just put this out here because I wanted to just talk about, you know, there is something going on here. There is a new kind of movement, and I think the players are kind of starting to come together, starting to understand what's going on better. And I've been super stoked to kind of see this happen in front of me. So yeah, yeah, it's completely awesome. Yeah, yeah, no, and LogRocket has been good too. Both FSJam and LogRocket have been like my two. I mean, I shouldn't pick favorites, but I didn't say it. So anyway, this is This Week in JavaScript, I think. Let's kind of move on. I mean, it's been going for 50 minutes. Let's kind of change the topic around, and I'm going to make myself a really quick banner here so that I can and start talking about Next. And I realize this is like a terrible segue here because I'm just showing quick, just demolishing Next and benchmark, but that's not why we're here. See, the thing is, let's get that off the screen actually. Next.js is largely the first time SSR became truly accessible to developers from a JavaScript framework standpoint. I know there was other things, and I can pull up some demos from 2014, 15, some stuff. I showed it already on stream, Ryan Florence's thing, but like Next made it a household name. And with that kind of legacy and that kind of clout, like obviously, things just keep on moving forward from that time. And it's not like Next is going to be left in the dust. Next, truthfully, is working on some of the most innovative stuff in the space when you consider the work into React server components, streaming, edge functions. Next is on a incredible tangent. But me personally, my own journey, I haven't actually had a chance to look at Next very much. And that's because, as I mentioned before, I didn't believe in server rendering at the beginning. And it's not surprising. I showed you guys all that Michael Jackson quote where he, in 2016, he was like, "Oh, no one needs server rendering anymore." And all that. Like I was getting really good performance out of Solid in the client. I was winning every benchmark that I went in, and people, would come out with their server rendered frameworks and like put them in, and Solid was just like smaller and faster than them all, and just like, what is the point? And yeah, it went on. And the thing that I learned from that was like, with good architecture for data fetching, like nested routing and parallelized fetching, I've been doing that, most of 5 years here with Solid. Like maybe you didn't need it, even for first paint, even for, initial page load. Like it was actually, putting up pretty good numbers. Obviously, as you can see from here, those numbers are not amazing. Like 3.4 for largest contentful paint on a slower device. I mean, don't look at Elm. Sorry, is half a second worse than this Marco score, for example. Or yeah, and this is even the best score we can see here. This is a stupidly large page, but like what I'm getting at is not everyone has a fast network, and that does make a huge difference on performance. And I kind of came to realize that much later, and that SSR was actually quite beneficial. But by that point, it was maybe 2018, and I have to admit, I was already like using suspense on the server, or not suspense, but I was already into suspense and stuff like that. So I started like, when I started working on stuff with Solid, I was like, okay, we want suspense on the server, and within a year or so, I saw Marco and I was like, we want streaming. And I kind of went fully down nested routing, suspense on the server, and streaming. And we got the first version out, I think, in 2020, early 2020-ish. And I've been there, and what I was looking at, I looked at things like SvelteKit. I looked at things like Remix, as they came out. There were things that were doing a lot of the same stuff I was doing, and that's where my interest was. If people think that I've been like ragging on stuff, oh, there's only a 50 on this benchmark or whatever, I have an incredible respect for those projects. I think the technology in them is great. I want to show people the difference between, different hydration techniques and stuff. But I think you know, picking up Remix to build a React app is a very good choice, and SvelteKit is amazing. And these are projects that are like pushing the envelope of single page apps and whatnot. So I never got back around to Next because it just wasn't. It just wasn't where I was at. I'd spent those first couple of years going, I don't get it. Like, why would anyone bother using Next when client side's way faster? And then by the time I got there, Next wasn't like, and it's not its fault. They weren't using like the nested routing or suspense on the server or streaming or any of that stuff. And I've just never had the chance. So today is that chance. Let's, look at Next for real. And part of that is going to be looking at classic Next, because new Next, I was reading the docs, I was trying to figure it out, and I don't think it's quite there yet, which is fine. And maybe, if I had someone brilliant at Next who's super familiar, in the chat, who could help me. I mean, cough, Theo, cough. But no, I mean, I'm not going to go there today. I think for me, in the future, when Next gets there, we'll do another stream and we'll see what that's like. But right now, I want to feel and learn what Next is about, why it grows to become the meta framework. And even if some of those things might be a little different than what I'm accustomed to, I think it's really interesting to kind of understand how these things come to be. Because every time I look and do stuff in a framework, everyone's like, "Oh, do you do this feature Next has?" And I'm like, well, I didn't even know that was a thing. And that's because Next has sort of pioneered this space more from like a meta framework standpoint, like what they should, like the features you'd find if you want to expand the scope. Like I'm a core framework author, so I'm very mechanical on like, streaming and all this stuff, suspense, right? That's not the thing the end developer walks away with, right? I might be like, you know, blah blah blah, cutting edge technique, but that's the end developer. At the end of the day, just wants to make their app, and that's why I think it's important to just give myself a little bit of perspective here and look at Next. And so today will be, it's not the first time I'm going to install Next. I installed Next once. Back in November 2021, Next 12 came out and they made a streaming RSC demo. And I was like, oh my God, they have edge workers and streaming for Vercel. So I took down a demo immediately, and they're like, okay, you need to use Next. So I literally went like install Next or whatever, and then I just put a solid app in it and then had solid streaming from their middleware function and did it immediately. I'd never touched Next, never touched Vercel before, because similarly, it wasn't in my scope. I've been kind of hot on Cloudflare from when like 2019 we wanted to use it for image processing at my old work, and I've been, it's been like 3 years now that I've always been about Cloudflare and the worker side of things. And then like over time, I kind of got a bit more acquainted with Netlify, but Vercel was something I never touched. So I got to give them credit there. I'd never touched it, and within like 4 hours, I'd basically managed to sneak in a full streaming solid demo on Vercel Edge. So they make stuff that's easy to use. So I am reasonably confident we can do something good here, because it's clear that Vercel and Next really think about their user and capabilities there enough that I could kind of hack around it, and get a solid demo working. So I guess the first question we got to ask ourselves is, what's the best way to get started with Next? I started reading through the docs, and I got some ideas for the Hackernews demo, but I was like, do I use the CLI, or do I just go into Vercel and just make a new Next project? That might be actually the easiest one, right? Yeah, I mean, they didn't call it meta frameworks originally, I guess, but Next, and then when Blitz built on top of Next and whatnot, like that's when the term meta framework sort of came into thing. Like Next is basically the start of that. But yeah, well, I've got navigating between pages. Okay, about Next, create your first app. That sounds like a good thing. Okay. Yeah, I know about the things. Like, I don't even know anything about this. Do I CLI or do I just go into Vercel? Because I know Vercel has templates. I mean, I might benchmark. Yeah, because I'm just trying to think here. The other thing I can, like, this seems like something probably really easy for me to do, right? Because I can just kind of go, not import. I want to clone a template, right? Like, is this a reasonable way to start with Next.js? Oh, create next app too. Everyone's saying CLI in the chat. Is that the thing? Only reason I wanted to come in here might have been because, like, what's this thing over here? Um, um, but yeah, yeah, okay. If you guys are all going to just say CLI, I guess we'll do CLI. Okay. What is create next app? By the way, just out of curiosity, is it like create React app? I'm just going to open a new window here. Wait, no, Theo has something. What is this? Oh, you can't like paste it? I could open Discord very briefly if you, oh, and I can open it off screen, and I could very briefly, you could send it to me if not on this screen. All right. If you'd like, Theo, you can send me something. I'm gathering that's what you're talking about. All right. Okay, what do I do with this link? Okay, I'm going to copy it. Oh, here we go. We recommend using create next app. Okay. So I can copy it. Oh, nice. All right. Oh, there's a Y? No. Okay. Okay, well, I'm just going to assume that it's good advice. All right. So it contains malware. Thanks, you guys are awesome. Let's proceed. I'm gonna quit Discord for now. So back to chat. All right. What do I want to call it? Next Hackernews. Will I be able to deploy this to Vercel very easily? I'm gathering it will. All right. And to help us for our port, I have the Remix app. So I know a lot of people, Remix is newer, so they port their Next app to Remix. We'll be porting a Remix app to Next. See how that goes. All right. Yeah. I forgot what it was like to install packages for a React-based thing. It's also good that I have Yarn installed. I think I installed it today to debug some stuff for when I was working on Quick. Okay. So while this is going through its many CLI pieces, okay, perfect, it's done. Okay, so starts development, runs development, blah, 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 typing cd next Hackernews, yarn dev. Okay, perfect. Okay, what I am actually going to do is I'm going to open a new window, and we're going to open it there. So development, examples, next Hackernews, open. Then we can put solid away. Okay, cool. Is there more here, or is this just the thing? Very built by Theo Mark. Very simple, very helpful. Thank you. All right, and we can get out of here, and we can get going. All right. Oh, the other section is important. Oh, okay, I mean, it was info.tips, right? Like, okay, let's get there when we get there. Okay, so yarn dev. Cool. So what, yeah, I mean, it's funny for most of you, you'll probably be like, oh yeah, this is just whatever, it's just Next. I'm just like, I've never seen this before. My only Next project literally was not even a Next project. All right. Start by ordering pages index, deploy examples, okay. And this will link me to actual Next stuff, okay, yeah, makes sense. Okay, cool. So what do we got? Let's blow this up a bit. So we have a pages directory with API in it, nice. We probably won't need that for our example today because we're just making Hacker News. We have an underscore app, which I'm gathering is something that doesn't get reflected because it's an underscore. It seems like others have copied their conventions. And then what's more than that, this is like the entry point, and Next for some reason knows it's the entry point. Once I don't notice, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I guess underscore app TSX is special. And we have favicon, SVG, styles, global CSS. Okay, home module CSS, yeah, which I won't care about. Okay, so I can probably just start gutting stuff then, and we should be able to get going pretty quick here. So I think I'll just kind of copy paste the remix CSS styles in here and get rid of this. What's home.module? Is this something special? It's probably imported somewhere. Yes, it is. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, thank you. I knew the chat would be helpful here because, I mean, this is probably less useful content for you all because you've seen this before, but hopefully this part of this will be the quickest. So essentially, we have a remix app. It has a global CSS. If I copy the global CSS across, we're just gonna go at it right away. I'm gonna format this. And I think for this one, next is gonna be black, I think. I think Next's color should be black. What do you guys think? No, that's not the right one. This is the right one. I'm gonna make Next black. Oh, yeah, watching me figure it out will be fun. I mean, I think it's pretty intuitive, and I think what might be lucky for me is that probably everyone has copied this. Now, there is some interesting stuff. Okay, so this is top level. I don't need a source folder. So I'm gonna make like a utilities folder. I'm gonna just copy it over here. I'm gonna make my API folder, but it's not it's not next API route. It's actually just how should I put it? It's just the file that has all the stuff. So I'm hoping that I can just bring it over here, paste it, and then we'll kind of use this. Oh, interesting. I forgot that I used this version of it. Oh, right. This is one thing where I actually won't. I shouldn't actually copy remix for this one, unfortunately, because they do some weird thing where they pass fetch in. I think was that what I had to do? Whatever. This is probably fine. Let's copy remix and go as far as we can. Okay, so the one thing I couldn't do nicely with remix was actually the route page. So this is let's do this piecewise so we don't make terrible mistakes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm gathering Next is going to have a link thing similar to stuff. So what I want to do actually is I want to make I'm going to delete this API route. I mean, I'm not going to need this. And I'm going to make a new file that is 123 stories dot tsx. It's going to export a function that is going to be, I'm just going to call it stories, and this is all going to be different. So we're just going to initialize like const page equals 1, const type equals top, and I'm missing one. Const stories equals empty. Okay, yeah. I think I will need the document, won't I? Okay. Let's see what else we need. Like, how do I make a base layout? Is it that's used by all of them? Is that what I do in app? Yeah, let me see here. And index, do we have links? We don't have links in here. Okay, we'll get there. Let's not worry too much about this. Hopefully it doesn't die yet. So the first thing I want to do is actually make the nav bar before I get ahead of myself. I'm going to make a components folder, and I'm going to copy this because these should be the same, presumably. So this part, not in pages, this part should be the same. But what I want to do is I want to recreate. Remix has a entry client or entry server. No, that's not what I want. It has a root, and in the root, I can do this kind of garbage. So I don't even care about all this garbage, to be fair. What I actually just want is this. I just want to stick my nav component. So is app used by everyone? Like, could I just make this a fragment and then essentially I don't know enough about how this routing works, but like, could I just put nav here? Yeah, I just want to put a nav bar on every page. Import. What am I importing? Nav from // components /nav. Resolve remix. Good job. Yeah, okay, so we need our link component. We need our link component. How do we use routing in this framework? Navigate between pages. You use a link. That makes sense. Next link. All right. Oh, it's more like solid. Is it? What's a link? Does it take an href? Yeah. All right. That's a logical attribute. Because guess what? Links have hrefs. Okay. Okay, we have some styling woes happening here, but at least built with Remix. Where are we? Built with Next, and we need a link for Next. What's Next? Is it just Next? See, maybe this will tell me. Next.js.org. Interesting. I wonder why the spacing is different. This is the first time I've built this where the spacing is actually different, but I wonder if it's, that is interesting. Brian's in for a nasty surprise. What? 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 Why would? Okay. Okay. Let me look at the doc so I understand why you would ever do that. Okay. Link. What? Okay. Okay. No. Any explanation? Okay. Sure. I'll play along. Okay. These all look the same. This is going to make things a little bit more fun. End of line, like a Mac, like a Windows user learning Mac keyboard shortcuts. Just like trying to save myself from like doing this a billion times. You know what? Screw it. We'll just do this. All right. Well, that probably explains my spacing problem. Okay, sweet. Hackernews. Okay, cool. Okay, let's keep on going. Talking to the next, baby. Yeah, it's like you guys all know, and you're just like, what will he find? Okay, well, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Let's really rip the Band-Aid off and delete index. Okay, so what do we need? Next link. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I guess that's a good argument for not having. I put the class on the anchor, don't I? Right? Is that the secret here? Like, I have to go through and find all the link tags and then put the anchor here, and then put the class on the anchor instead of on the link. Right? So like class page link go here, I think. And then this becomes href. Okay, so there is some refactoring to be done. That's fine. This isn't the worst. I've refactored this thing like a billion different ways. So let's just do that. Yeah, I'm getting the hang of this. It's okay. All right, and it wants story, and story we have to import. It's going to complain about remix again. This is all good though. Nothing. I mean, there's nothing. There's some weird stuff going on, but we should bring our types over too. From our remix project. Our types are here. Let's just copy that. Paste. There we go. All right, then that makes stuff happier. Should make stuff happier. Dot type. Did I put it inside the folder by accident? Oh, it's here. All right, all good. Okay, so just a couple more links to fix. Okay. These all become hrefs, and yeah, I don't think I get a cheap way of doing this. What's the chance this is actually, no, okay. Okay, I'm just doing stupid stuff. Sorry, I'll just do it. I was like trying to get too smart. I'll just do this the painfully slow way. I can copy that. Sorry, not the most enthralling part of this. If I'd known, I probably would have done this ahead of time. I had no clue that they would make me put anchors inside the link tags. Oh man, that's good times. Okay, so I guess the first question is why my route, did I do this right? Shouldn't ... match on slash? Oh, interesting. ... doesn't match on slash. So this is just like remix. That's weird though. Svelte kit and solid both have the ... pattern and they match on slash. Can someone confirm this for me? Do you guys know if this is actually true? I mean, it looks that way, so maybe this is the thing. Is there any way to like just match overall? Otherwise, this is mostly doing what I want it to do. The next thing we actually have to do is load some data. So maybe I'll just start on new so we can see it, and then yeah, the thing is I need to match on anything including nothing. Is the thing, because like without the ... it'll match on like this is the behavior that I'd expect for without the triple dots. Oh, do they not have the ... matching pattern? I thought everyone got that from Next. Did they see this? Okay. Let's look at file-based routing. Dynamic routes. Catch-all. Yeah, this one. Interesting. But it won't match on post. I'm basically trying to match on pages basically everything, like a catch-all for. Okay. Okay, double. Interesting. I wonder. Gathering more specific routes will win, but okay, double. No? Okay, good. Beautiful. Thanks, Theo. Sorry, the wrong one. This one. Yes, thanks, Theo. Also, thanks, Theo. All right. Okay, cool. All right, so then we're like mostly set up here, and then we just need to load the data. So how hard can that be compared to Remix? This is actually a weird thing. I was looking at the Next docs and I was reading them. They kept on like suggesting, oh, you should use get static props. And I'm like, okay, that's not going to fail me. Or you should client fetch. And there's a get server props, but it's almost like they don't recommend it. But like the get server props mechanism is basically the loader mechanism. I mean, it's less granular, it's not nested, but like for our simple purposes, it seems like the right thing to do. Because essentially, yeah, I mean, let's see what's up with that. Okay, so let's try. Yeah, how do we let's learn about get server props. I'm like a little bit familiar because people keep on telling me, and I'm like why don't you use suspense or stuff? But like, okay, pre-rendering and data fetching, pre-rendering, server-side rendering. I don't want static props. I want. So, I'm in learn basics. Let's go docs. Okay. Get server-side props. Okay. Okay, and it will handle it too. So this is like a loader and remix. I mean, I could fetch client side, but I don't. We don't want that for initial load. And since this handles the isomorphic thing, I think it sounds right. So essentially, I just want to go like this. You guys can tell me if I'm like terribly wrong, but this looks like what I want. Right? I don't know what context is, but I guess we'll find out. Types? No? Help? No types? I guess the docs won't have TypeScript in them. Okay, that's fine. We'll figure it out the way I usually figure things out. Okay. Beautiful. Now, if I refresh the page, do I get, okay, here we go. A lot of stuff. Okay. Oh, it's because we had the request and response objects. Interesting. But there must be an easier approach to this. Docs must tell me, right? Yeah, here we go. Do I need node fetch or do they have their own thing? No, but they don't actually tell me how to get the route params here. Okay. It's linked, but I gotta read more. Here we go. Ah, beautiful. I think I just need params. Okay, cool. So what I want to do in here essentially is params and possibly query. Yeah, params and query. I think. Let's see. Let's console log it first to make sure. Okay. Let's go to, oh, it's because well, I guess let's just start with params. Beautiful, okay. It's object, stories. Oh, interesting. Query also has it in there. Huh, okay. Well, let's not worry about that too much. Now let's go, let's look to fetch something. Let's do, using our remix example, we want to fetch this. So we don't need URL. We need page and type and stories. So let's just grab that. All right, so this is context.params, and then we're going to import fetch API from, and then we need our stories map, which let's put in here and get some TypeScript in here. Just import everything. Story types. And page is, I need to see what the query looks like. We're just going to make it page 1 for now and not worry about that. And then map stories, type is key of map stories, really? Whatever. Not going to worry about that. And then we're going to return page type stories. And page type stories and TypeScript. What's stories data? God, I never use React. I mean, this is probably the worst thing I could do, but whatever. Okay. Now, in theory, we got stuff loading. Okay, cool. Okay. Fetch if you have node 18. So the question is this going to blow up the second I try and deploy it to Vercel? Okay, so data's loading. Go to the next page. It doesn't load, but now we should be able to inspect and see what we get. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so this is really convenient. It's literally query.page. So actually, I guess there is some logic there. Query.page or 1, essentially. Query.page or 1, and I guess we should cast it. Context.query.page. And if I did that all right, we should have loading stories. Beautiful. Okay. So far, so good. Okay. So this is next. Okay. Sorry. I heard some people talking about how Remix completely changed the game or something on little data loaders, but it's kind of the same thing. I mean, the nested stuff is really nice, but that wasn't too bad. Maybe there's another secret thing. Maybe I have to wrap this in an anchor tag or something. But so far, so good. Okay, so that's our first page. That's the most important page, actually. Okay, so let's continue. it actually only gets easier from here. So I'm pretty happy with this. What time are we at? Okay, so it's been like an hour and a half. Yeah, I imagine next 15 minutes we can finish up the rest of this demo. Then it's all going to be fun trying to deploy to Vercel, but this is good. Okay, so let's fill out the rest of this. Nav works, story works, comment needs to use next-link thing. And we're gonna do some more of our fun. Is there any more of these? No. And then all right. No, that's not right. Link in the wrong place. This whole anchor thing is just so bizarre. It's not like a bad thing. It's just like it's just a thing. All right, yeah. So this logic is otherwise unchanged, and now we just need to add a couple more pages. We need to add stories, and we need to add users. And then now that I know what the pattern is, I feel like it is closer to remix than I was thinking. Like we could probably just kind of like drop in some of the remix stuff and just like move this up to there. Yeah, okay. I see a pattern. Let's do users first. All right. So essentially, yeah, okay, so I guess I gotta do dot dot. Perfect. Don't need any of this stuff from remix. Don't need any of this stuff from remix. Export, actually, what is it called? Export, get server side props. Yeah, and if you notice, I'm just ignoring TypeScript. I leave that for someone better than me to wrestle with. But I think this is actually just really simple. I think we just like go like, no, just go like return context dot grams that return props user. I guess there's other stuff in here, so it's like kind of like a middleware thing. It's the props a little bit extra, but who cares? And then user, tell I am not a React programmer. Beautiful. And or any, yeah, you know. TypeScript isn't there to get in your way, right? Except for when it is. On a project earlier where like TypeScript was required, it wasn't just like a suggestion, and it was definitely taxing me a little bit. There we go, new file, ID. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, going back and forth between these meta frameworks seems like trivial, really. Like, let's do this one. It's like convention here, convention there. Remove a few imports, add a few imports. Did I still no? Export function. Lazy. Like not proper React coding, but you guys aren't gonna hold it against me, right? There's a link in here. This is easy peasy. No, this is good. What do we got? Import link from next link. All right. As you read, oh yeah, no. We spent a stream. I think it was a remix stream. We're sitting here, we're like, why does this not work? And we spent like 20 minutes trying to fix this type. I'm so past it. Okay, so then we go here. We click on a user. We see the user page. Not much to it. We click on a story. We get the stories. Oh yeah, I saw this actually. This is something that I only have in the React demos. Let's fix this right now. I don't know why there's this extra 0. I think it's always on the last comment. And it's only, yeah, let's see where that is. It's such a weird thing. Where is that 0 coming from? It's at the end of it. Div text by text 0. Oh, it's yeah. It's because of this. Undefined. Beautiful. Okay. Lovely. Okay, next Hacker News. I'm kind of like scared about what else is going on here, but I think we're good. What do I need to do to deploy this to Vercel? I guess is the next question, eh? I can't tell if you're being serious or not. No, I know you're not. Okay, well, I mean, we have a working Next Hacker News, so now that was pretty easy. I'll commit the repo later, but let's see what Vercel says about. Unless this is why I wasn't supposed to shut down info.tips. No, that wasn't right. I'm gonna have to open up Discord again just to get the link again. Init. Man, okay. Init.tips. Okay, there we go. Was there something more that I missed? Okay, so no deploy tips. Okay, that's it's all good. It's all good. Init.tips. Okay, that's all good. Info.tips. Oh, fun times. Okay. What do I want to do? I want to look at. I want to kill Discord. That's what I want to do. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Of course. Right. I'm just being dumb. It's just like deploying to Vercel with anything. Okay. There you go. Like I'm like overthinking. I'm like thinking, oh, this is the next project, but they're going to handle everything in the pipeline, right? Yes. Sounds good. No existing project. Next Hacker News, yeah. Code is located in root, I guess. Next build sounds good. Yeah, these sound good. No, do I want to override the settings? No. Okay. Yeah. It's funny. I've used this like a bunch of times with Solid, and I'm just like not like I'm just like in like a it's fine. I built the Vercel Solid Start integration, right? I've used these commands a bunch of times. Okay. 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 It says to check my logs, but like I can also just run this locally and see why it's angry. Is a TypeScript actually going to come and haunt me here? This is what I'm talking about. Yeah, I imagine I could. Unless, like, it's so funny. This works like in some things, but it doesn't seem to work on this one. Type as key of map story. In next config, okay. Let's just tell it to be quiet. That's easier. Ooh, React strict mode. Does it only do that in dev, right? Like, so it doesn't like run everything twice in production? Ignore build errors true. Okay, that sounds good. Oh, it's TypeScript, okay. Only TypeScript build errors, okay. Good. See, there you go. No one else complained about this. Here's Next protecting us. That's awesome. So in our nav, we have something considered legacy here. Using target blank without no rel security viz. Okay, so where is that? I thought it was here. Where else do we have target blank in our project? Target. There we go. There we go. Making a better website. Thank you, Next. Oh, 76.7 kilobytes. It's only 15 kilobytes larger than Remix. That's not as big as I thought. I assumed we'd be in like something bigger. So yeah, that's great. Okay, let's do it. Thank you, everyone who's here. You're very helpful, obviously. Sorry, Theo, what did you do 3 times this week? All right, preview. Is it for cell -- prod or something if I wanted to actually like do it for real? Or is preview fine? Oh yeah, it is -- prod. Okay, well, let's just move it around. It works. New show. Yeah, I mean, looks nice. This is a Hackernews page. Okay, yeah, let's do a prod. Not that I think it actually makes any difference here. Let's just go to prod and take a look at our newest Hackernews demo to join the family. That was painless. I mean, weird, but painless. So yeah. Honestly though, if I didn't have you all in chat and I was trying to figure out what was going on with the anchors versus the links, I would have never figured that out. I would have I guess I would have looked at the docs and been like, okay, there's anchors here, but I would that would have never crossed my mind as a pattern. Yeah, and to be fair, yeah, I mean, they're all kind of the same. Like, here's another one, right? Like, in a sense, yeah, I mean, this is solid. It's similar to Remix as well. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, they're all kind of okay. Cool. Hacker News, next Hacker News Olive. I got my own awesome URL here. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna open it in an incognito window and just kind of take a look around. I did not stack the house this time. Oh, damn it. Sorry. Oh, but I guess that means Remix has it too. There's one transition animation that seems to still be here. Remix. Guess this is on Cloudflare. See that animation? Yeah, it's fine. So we got Next, we got Remix. Okay. We have others, but I'm not going to worry about those too much. I just want to kind of understand the difference between Next and Remix because I mean these are both React frameworks. And I feel like we can kind of look at it and get a feel for what the difference is between these React frameworks. Okay. So yeah, initial page load 75.5, 101. Yeah. Okay. So Next is doing a bunch of other interesting scripts like middleware manifests, and I mean most of these are inconsequential little things, but looks like the main chunk is 46.9. Like they split like a vendor bundle and then your chunk, so it's like 46.9 and 29.9. Remix kind of tries to keep it mostly in one chunk. I guess this is the top level and this is the code split route, the 16.5. And in this one, it's probably the same sort of split, right? Where we have the page and the framework. So the framework or the entry is 46.9. Interesting. That makes sense. 41.9. So interesting. But why is the chunk so much different? The split's got to be different, but it's interesting like how much different between. I guess there must be more stuff coming in specifically on the page. I mean, we can confirm that by navigating to the next page, actually, and see what extra loads in, because this didn't add very much, a 9.3, and then when I go here, we see the data coming in, right? What's the fetch? But, interesting. JSON format. Oh, I guess 14 comments and 263 isn't exactly fair comparison, but okay, yeah. So JSON format 2.8 kilobytes, 2.6. Yeah, okay. I mean, interesting. Does Next not do code splitting? Neither did these. I guess they. Oh, maybe these guys all aggressively preload stuff. Okay, no, the ID chunk is right here. Maybe it's the route prefetching I'm not seeing. The second page is only 1.2 kilobytes in Remix, right? Like the ID page. And in Next, I just don't see where the ID page gets loaded in. Huh. Yeah, any link gets prefetched. So I wonder if it got prefetched much earlier and I didn't I didn't realize it. Yeah, it's right here. Yeah. That makes sense. It's 945 bytes right here. Okay, so yeah, I guess there's just a lot more like the components aren't that much different in size. I guess it's just like the way they shift the vendor bundles and stuff. Okay, let's give it a quick couple loads here. Let's start main page. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I imagine this will be super fast. Yeah, 185 first contentful first paint. It's pretty good. 228 LCP is going to be the same, and it hydrates. Okay, so this is pretty good. Just get an idea here. Let's just go back to the main page. Give it a quick one over here. Should be the same kind of thing. Oh, you know what it is? Yeah, I wish I had this on the same infrastructure. I'm convinced Cloudflare workers for this demo is what's killing us a little bit. I think the API is in Vercel, and I think that the edge functions have this delay here, which doesn't which does yeah, this is very interesting. I think this is a demo that is hurt by not being on Netlify. I need to re-examine this or Vercel for that matter because they both use AWS under the hood. Because we're getting yeah, this I think this is actually interesting that the workers have us because we're waiting for the data fetching and the data is farther away. Yeah. So and without streaming, there's no recourse. Okay, well, let's do something that will blow that out of the water because we don't actually care about it. Let's look at our timeline for our actual like mean benchmark. Let's just take a little look at profile. At this when we do something like this mean, it's going to be less felt, I imagine. Um, okay, let's do this. Just kind of get an idea of the characteristics. I imagine it's going to be pretty similar. Yeah, first paint, 13. Hydration costs here aren't that bad, actually. I'm kind of actually impressed. Hydration task is 52 milliseconds, but all in all, really good time frame here. Let's add that to the end here. Yeah, 63. Yeah, I mean, it's nominal. Yeah, this is pretty comparable stuff, really. 1200, 13, 13, 1330. Like, I don't know why the first paint took longer here, but it's basically in the same range. Yeah, well, okay. You guys want to see lighthouse scores? Okay, we can see lighthouse scores. I was just warming it up, kind of understanding the timeline. None of them. If we look at what I want to do is I want to briefly look here. Neither of them seem to be, for an example like this, too bottlenecked on resource loading. Obviously, like they don't stream, so they wait for the page. But like 938, like I mean, it's like a second for this example. So yeah, good. Okay, so let's just dump these into our lighthouse. We'll do remix first, and then do next last as the big reveal. Like, why not? Let's do remix first. I wonder if it's any better than last time. It was about 50, right? For this terrible mean test. We should also probably test without the mean test. 55, see? Every day is a little different. Nice. And it's loading all the comments? Yeah, okay. So, and let's do next. 50. I mean, this is a dead, like, this, other than this is just, this app is very dead simple, other than the fact that this page is just brutal. It's in the same range. If we're looking here, we're just, it's in the same range. I don't know why there's a gap here between first contentful and largest contentful, given that they're completely server rendered. And we noticed a little bit of that gap when we did the timelines, but it is actually, like, we run this enough times, we're going to get around the same score. See, about just over a second blocking, 15, 5.45. Yeah, I mean, the remix numbers look a little bit better, but let's just run everything twice, just to give it a go. But this is not that different, right? I mean, obviously, this is overloading a simplistic demo is the best way to put it, right? Next time I do remix, I get 47. So again, the same range. And when I do remix, I got 46. Let's do it a third time. Like, there's obviously a range here, but it's around 50, kind of like what we saw last time. Maybe the 55 was the good run, and we'd have to run it a bunch of times. But essentially, they're pretty neck and neck here on a. I think the thing is, this example is really just testing. Yeah, okay, that was a bad run. Yeah, remix might be like a hair more performant in this, like, in this case, but it's probably not something people would notice, I think. This is just mean. So let's just do a mobile test on the top level page, without all the meanness. Just, these should be scoring close to 100. They should be 98 and 98. Yeah, I mean, let's look. Remix is taking longer here. I think, honestly, this demo, the API and the Cloudflare, is actually just not. They don't play nicely together. Interactive 1.7, 1.6. So yeah, I don't know how the numbers reporting, because it's interesting. It's like, I doubt Remix's hydration is like significantly faster on this, but it's just, or actually, yeah, what there is something weird. I don't get it. We've noticed, looking at this, there is something weird. Next is reporting a much later largest contentful paint. Because I was like looking at this for a second, but like, why is there a difference when it literally is fully rendered thing? And we've noticed this the whole time. Next's largest contentful paint is after its first contentful paint. And I don't know why. Because conceptually, these numbers should be identical, like they are for Remix, like they are for SvelteKit. When I turn off streaming on Solid, they're identical. But for some reason, for Next, there is a gap here, and this is a significant gap here. Like, and maybe this was related to Steve's demo. Steve was sitting here, and he was like, I showed the thing on Twitter, and someone asked, they're like, I'll just pull it up one more time. Our buddy Steve from Builder, and you look at a hydration demo, and you're like, okay, well, where is it? It should be pretty recent, 6 hours. Yeah, you look at a hydration demo, and you think to yourself, you're like, well, it's not rendering time. These are static rendered pages. Like, sure, going gray, But look how much sooner quick appears compared to the React thing. These are static pages. There should be no delay on the visual. But this is next. I wonder if there's something weird on the way that it doesn't make sense to me. This is something for us to figure out at some point. But why there's why is there a gap? Like in this case, like more than half a second gap between first contentful and largest contentful. I mean, let's look at those timelines again just for a second. Like first, largest. These are the same, right? They are the same. So what's going on? I think it was more noticeable on. Yeah, no, that just doesn't make any sense. Oh, so you've witnessed this before, huh? It must be something in the way that Chrome calculates its stuff. I mean, okay, let's do the thing, right? Sorry, I closed it down again. How did you link the thing? How did Steve do it? Let's do the visual measurement tool thing. Let's put them side by side and see if there is actually something going on here, because he said not convinced, blah blah blah, made by real web page test. I actually never used this, so I'm not. I mean, I've used this site, but I've never used the visual thing. Correlate use fields. Okay, well, let's. I don't completely trust these, so let's take the next example and put it under web page test and do something slow and see what this does. Okay, see if this is just Lighthouse. I usually don't do this one because it takes a little longer, but page speed isn't always the most accurate. Yeah, I mean, it's just curious to me, you know what I mean? Like, why would this be any different? Give that a second while it's going. All in all, though, yeah, I don't know. It's funny. I guess I was expecting something different, but Next was very straightforward to use, and it doesn't seem. I mean, yes, I can imagine if the apps continue to scale up the way the app like initially does. Like I could see this because but yeah, I mean, Next loads for the same page was 100 kilobytes, and Remix was like 70 kilobytes. And when you put that in the scope of things, SvelteKit is like 19 kilobytes, and the Astro we did last week was like 5 kilobytes. There's a full range there, but I mean, what would matter more is scaling up more components and more logic and whatnot. Okay. Okay, yeah, okay. So, okay. First contentful paint, longest, same. Yeah, okay. So Yeah, I think there's like, yeah, I don't know. This there must be something weird on how Lighthouse calculates stuff, because this doesn't make any sense to me. Okay. Yeah, well, that's cool. Nothing too controversial here today, other than why is page speed doing this? Well, I guess that's a problem for another day. Oh, easy stream. 2 hours and 10 minutes. What do you know? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, this is what you're highlighting here. It's all simulated here, and if you all saw Michael Rawlings' article from a few weeks ago, the simulations they're not perfect. Interesting thing is, I think Google does use this for SEO, so there's like value to scoring high here, even if it isn't actually accurate. Well, you know what? I did what I set out to do. So yeah, I don't know if there's anything spicy or anything else we really want to take on with this one. This is this is kind of is was really straightforward. I got to hand it to them. And yeah, I mean, I haven't been there this whole time, so I don't know if Next was always like this, but it's it seems incredibly easy to create an app and deploy it. So not much else to say. Okay. Anyways, yeah, I think I'm just gonna call a stream tonight. End this one a little early. So yeah, have a good night, everyone. If there's no other questions or anything, just give me less people last couple chance. But other than that, yeah, have a great weekend, and see everyone next week.